Hi folks, Pete Lane. Welcome to another installment in our series, iPhone 101. Today we'll continue to learn about voiceover gestures. In this episode, we'll focus on two-finger gestures. But let's do a quick review of the gestures that we learned in our previous episode on the very basic voiceover gestures. They were all single finger, one finger gestures. If you recall, the first was the touch. Touch anywhere on the screen and VoiceOver will read back what you've touched. If you slide your finger across the screen, VoiceOver will read any element that your finger crosses over. These gestures are referred to as Explore by Touch. We covered the single finger flick to the right, flick to the left, and the single finger double tap. So I know you've been practicing those because we know practice makes perfect, especially with voiceover gestures. So let's get on with the presentation. As I did last time, I'll walk through each of the gestures, describing each one of the actions, and in the second part of the presentation, I'll demonstrate how each gesture works in a real-time application. So without further ado, let's get started. First, we have the two-finger single tap. This is a single tap or touch on the screen with two fingers simultaneously. Put your fingers about 1/4 to 1/2 inch apart and touch the screen with both fingers at the same time. This action will stop VoiceOver from speaking if it's already speaking and will restart VoiceOver after you've stopped it. You can do this anywhere on your screen, on your home screen, or in any app you might be using. Next, the two-finger double tap. This is just like the two-finger single tap, except that you tap the screen twice, once again with two fingers at the same time. This action will start and stop almost any audio from playing. This would include your music, podcasts, YouTube videos, and your VoiceStream reader audio. It's a handy way to answer and disconnect phone calls. The two-finger double tap can also initiate and stop dictation whenever you're in a text field. It can also be used to take a picture from your photo app or to start and stop video in your video player. There are other applications for this gesture which we can cover as needed. The next gestures we'll talk about will be the two-finger flick up or down. First, the two-finger flick down is performed by using two fingers to flick down from top to bottom on your screen. This will read all beginning at your current location on the screen. The two-finger flick up is used with two fingers touching the screen at the same time but flicking in an upward manner. This is the read all command, which will begin reading at the very top of your screen and continue all the way through to the bottom of the screen. The next gesture is a little bit tricky. It's called the two-finger scrub. It is done with two fingers touching the screen simultaneously, where you flick to the right and then back to the left fairly quickly without lifting your fingers from the screen. It's kind of like drawing a portion of the letter Z on your screen. This action is similar to tapping your back button that will take you back to your previous screen. Next, we have the two-finger triple tap. Once again, hold your fingers about 1/2 inch apart and tap the screen 3 times fairly quickly, touching the screen with both fingers at the same time. This action will bring up your item chooser, which will list all of the elements on your screen in a simple list format. Okay, so let's see these gestures in action. Remember, our first gesture was the two-finger single tap, which stops VoiceOver from speaking. I'll start VoiceOver speaking.
Settings, App Store, News, Contacts, Weather, Messenger.
And I lightly put two fingers on the screen, anywhere on the screen, and VoiceOver stopped. If I do so again, VoiceOver will resume where it left off.
Messenger, clock, 2:38 p.m., stocks.
So this is handy whenever VoiceOver is speaking, whether in a crowded environment or perhaps a quiet area like a library or a meeting. Often VoiceOver will speak out of turn, perhaps when a notification comes in, or possibly you've just inadvertently tapped the screen and VoiceOver begins speaking. The quick gesture that stops VoiceOver from speaking is that two-finger tap. It's actually more of a two-finger touch right on the screen. Now let's check out our two-finger double tap. The two-finger double tap is so common, it's often referred to as the magic tap. Remember, this action starts and stops audio from playing on your phone, beginning with music. All I did was a two-finger double tap, a light, fairly quick double tap with two fingers on the screen, and the music began to play. And when I did so again, the music stopped. And I'll illustrate again in our music app. You keep on screaming from the top. And another two-finger double tap. And now we can try podcasts, and I'll do my two-finger double tap.
Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson.
And I'm Pete Lane. Our guest today is Eric Manzer. Very simple gesture. I recommend that you master this quickly, as it's very convenient whenever you wish to begin or stop the playing of audio. In fact, an excellent use of this two-finger double tap would be when listening to this series.
Practice voiceover gestures, commands, and typing in this area.
It's a quick and convenient way to pause playback while you practice a particular gesture or explore a particular feature that we might cover.
Select the Done button in the top right corner and double tap to exit. Flick right, move to next item.
It also works in our Bard audio player on audiobooks.
The Burning Room, heading.
Two-finger double tap.
That's the thing. It's out east of here, the next county over, he said. We would have to go soon so you can be back in time for Meals on Wheels.
And again.
Stop.
Again.
Work in the car? Sure. You go get dressed and I'll get the guns out. Bosh it.
Stop.
It works in our Voice Dream Reader.
Apple revolutionized personal technology.
And I did it again to stop the playing, and one more time to resume playing.
With the introduction of the Macintosh in 1984.
And again to stop. And I can use it to answer an incoming telephone call.
Pat Lane or two others. Accept button.
I'll do my two-finger double tap now. Hello.
Hello.
That echo is my home phone. I actually dialed my cell phone number with my home phone, but I'll disconnect the call using that two-finger double tap. There we go. Another use for the magic tap is to initiate dictation. I'm in my Safari app, which is my web browser, and I have an open text field right here.
Address, text field, is editing. Search or enter website name.
Now I'll perform a two-finger double tap and we'll hear a bell ring. That indicates that dictation will begin. When I'm finished with my dictation, I'll do another two-finger double tap and we'll hear a bell indicating the dictation is completed. So I'll do my two-finger double tap now. www.blindabilities.com.
Inserted. www.blindabilities.com.
There we go. Now there's an on-screen keyboard at the bottom of the screen, and I'll look for the Go button.
Go.
And I'll do a single-finger double tap.
Go. Skip to content. Link.
Now we're on a website. Let's see if it's the right website. I'll go to the top of the screen.
Address. blindabilities.com.
So we're on the Blind Abilities website. So there we have a simple, easy way to perform dictation. So that's just a few applications for the two-finger double tap, aka the magic tap. But as I mentioned earlier, there are several other applications. We'll be covering those over the course of this series. Now let's show how the two-finger flick up and down works. Remember, these two gestures are read-all gestures. The first, the two-finger flick down, reads from your current spot on the screen to the bottom of the screen. I'll show you what I mean. I'll flick to a spot on the screen.
Photography folder, 2 apps, double tap to open.
And I'll use my two-finger single tap to stop VoiceOver from speaking. And now I will perform the two-finger flick down.
Photography folder, 2 apps, camera, notes, FaceTime, reminders, iTunes Store, News 104.5, page 2 of 6, phone, mail, 2 unread emails, Safari, music.
And there we go. It went all the way to the bottom of the screen. Now, since I'm at the bottom of the screen, let's try our two-finger flick up.
Settings, App Store, News, Contacts, Weather, Messenger, Clock, 4:07 p.m., Stocks.
And I use my two-finger single tap to stop VoiceOver from speaking. When I performed that two-finger flick up, it went all the way to the top left element on the screen and started reading. These two commands are called read all commands. Another two-finger gesture is our two-finger triple tap. This opens what we call the item chooser. The item chooser essentially lists everything on a particular screen in a simple list in alphabetical order. Let me demonstrate. I'm now on my home screen.
Settings.
Now I'll flick to the right.
App Store, News, Contacts, Weather, Messenger.
So as you see, I have a series of apps that are not in alphabetical order. But if I perform my two-finger triple tap,
Item Chooser, 20 items, search field.
VoiceOver identifies that the item chooser has been brought up and that there are 20 items shown in the list. Now let's flick to the right.
Table index adjustable. Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value.
This is a handy search tool. As you heard VoiceOver say, you can flick up or down to move through the alphabetical index. Let me show you. I'll flick down with one finger.
C, selected. F, selected. I, selected.
Those are each letters which represent the first letter in a particular app on this home screen. So I'm at an I. If I were to flick to the right,
iTunes Store, center of screen, actions available.
There's the iTunes Store app. Let me flick again to the right.
Mail, 2 unread emails, bottom of screen, actions available.
And the next app alphabetically is Mail. And again,
Messenger, top of screen, actions available.
And it also tells me where the messenger is located. So that's a handy tool that can be used in any screen or in any website. And it's a good search tool to allow you to get to a particular item on a page if you know the first letter of that item. Now we happen to be at a good point to demonstrate another two-finger gesture, and that is the two-finger scrub. As I mentioned earlier, the two-finger scrub is performed by putting two fingers together and doing a partial Z form on the screen. It's like drawing the first two sides of the letter Z. You actually do this by swiping to the right and then quickly back to the left. That serves as if you're tapping a back button to get to a previous screen. So let me do this in the item chooser.
Closing item chooser.
And as you heard, it closed the item chooser, and now I'm back on my regular home screen.
Settings, App Store, News.
Before we finish up, I want to show you one more handy tool for learning and practicing your VoiceOver gestures. This is your VoiceOver Help area, also known as your VoiceOver Practice area. You can get to this area by tapping on your Settings app, then General, then Accessibility, and into your VoiceOver settings. I covered this process in our previous installment on basic VoiceOver settings. But you can also open up the VoiceOver Help area with a simple gesture, the four-finger double tap. While you haven't yet learned this gesture, practice and you should be able to pick it up. Just hold your four fingers relatively close together and lightly tap on the screen twice. I'll perform that four-finger double tap now.
Starting help. To stop help, perform a four-finger double tap or two-finger scrub or press escape on the keyboard.
So we are now in our practice area, so any gesture that I perform will not actually be activated. For example,
flick right, move to next item.
There it is, a flick right and the definition of the gesture.
Flick left, move to previous item.
I'll do one more.
Double tap, activates the selected item.
These are all gestures with which we're familiar.
Two-finger flick up, red page starting at the top. Two-finger flick down, red page starting at selected item.
And here's a peek at a few that we'll learn in an upcoming episode.
Three-finger single tap, speak page number or rows being displayed. Three-finger double tap, toggle speech on and off. Three-finger triple tap, toggle screen curtain on and off. Three-finger quadruple tap, copy last spoken text to the clipboard. Three-finger flick up, scroll down one page. Three-finger flick down, scroll up one page. Three-finger flick left, scroll right one page. Three-finger flick right, scroll left one page. Four-finger single tap near top of screen, move to the first element. Four-finger single tap near bottom of screen, move to the last element. Four-finger swipe left, switch to the previous app.
And if you remember the VoiceOver hint when we first opened the VoiceOver Help area, there are three gestures which will close the VoiceOver Help area. The first being the two-finger scrub.
Two-finger scrub, escapes a current context, stopping help.
The second being the four-finger double tap, just as we did to enter this area.
Four-finger double tap, toggle VoiceOver Help, stopping help.
And finally, we can press our home button. This concludes our presentation of our two-finger VoiceOver gestures. In future installments, we'll be covering our three-finger gestures and our four-finger gestures. Yes, there are even four-finger gestures. But in the meantime, keep practicing the ones you've learned. It's critical that each voiceover gesture be precise. If you have questions or comments, shoot us an email at info@blindabilities.com. And again, as always, thanks so much for listening and have a great day.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations
and the
reality of blind abilities.
The realities of blind
abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.